Ezra Chapter 8. These are their family heads, and this is the genealogy of those who went up with me from Babylonia, in the reign of King Artaxerxes. Of the descendants of Phinehas, Gershom. Of Ithamar, Daniel. Of David, Hattush. Of the descendants of Shechaniah. Of Parosh, Zechariah, with whom were registered 150 males. Of the descendants of Pahath Moab, Eli Enai, son of Zeriah, and with him 200 males. Of the descendants of Zatu, Shechaniah, son of Jahaziel, and with him 300 males. Of the descendants of Adin, Ebed, son of Jonathan, and with him 50 males. Of the descendants of Elam, Jeshaiah, son of Athaliah, and with him 70 males. Of the descendants of Shephatiah, Zebediah, son of Michael, and with him 80 males. Of the descendants of Joab, Obadiah, son of Jehiel, and with him 218 males. Of the descendants of Bani, Shelomith, son of Jophisiah, and with him 160 males. Of the descendants of Bebai, Zechariah, son of Bebai, and with him 28 males. Of the descendants of Azgad, Jonathan, son of Hakatan, and with him 110 males. Of the descendants of Adonikam, those who came later, with their names being Eliphelet, Jeuel, and Shemaiah, and with them 60 males. Of the descendants of Bigvai, Uthai, and Zaccur, and with them 70 males. I gathered them by the river that runs to Ahava, and there we camped 3 days. As I reviewed the people and the priests, I found there none of the descendants of Levi. Then I sent for Eleazar, Ariel, Shemaiah, Elnathan, Jarib, Elnathan, Nathan, Zechariah, and Meshullam, who were leaders, and for Joiarib and Elnathan, who were wise, and sent them to Iddo, the leader at the place called Cassiphia, telling them what to say to Iddo and his colleagues, the temple servants at Cassiphia, namely to send us ministers for the house of our God. Since the gracious hand of our God was upon us, they brought us a man of discretion, of the descendants of Machli, son of Levi, son of Israel, named Sherebiah, with his son and kin, 18. Also Hashabiah, and with him Jeshaiah, of the descendants of Merari, with his kin and their sons, 20. Besides 220 of the temple servants whom David and his officials had set apart to attend the Levites. These were all mentioned by name. Then I proclaimed a fast there, at the river of Ahava, that we might deny ourselves before our God, to seek from him a safe journey for ourselves, our children, and all our possessions. For I was ashamed to ask the king for a band of soldiers and cavalry to protect us against the enemy on our way, since we had told the king that the hand of our God is gracious to all who seek him, but his power and his wrath are against all who forsake him. So we fasted and petitioned our God for this, and he listened to our entreaty. Then I set apart 12 of the leading priests, Sherebiah, Hashabiah, and 10 of their kin with them. And I weighed out to them the silver and the gold and the vessels, the offering for the house of our God, that the king, his counselors, his lords, and all Israel there present had offered. I weighed out into their hand 650 talents of silver, and 100 silver vessels worth talents, and 100 talents of gold, 20 gold bowls worth 1,000 darics, and 2 vessels of fine polished bronze as precious gold. And I said to them, You are holy to the Lord, and the vessels are holy, and the silver and the gold are a freewill offering to the Lord, the God of your ancestors. Guard them and keep them until you weigh them before the chief priests and the Levites, and the head of families in Israel at Jerusalem, within the chambers of the house of the Lord. So the priests and the Levites took over the silver, the gold, and the vessels, as they were weighed out, to bring them to Jerusalem to the house of our God. Then we left the river Ahava on the 12th day of the first month to go to Jerusalem. The hand of our God was upon us, and he delivered us from the hand of the enemy and from the ambushes along the way. We came to Jerusalem and remained there 3 days. On the 4th day, within the house of our God, the silver, the gold, and the vessels were weighed into the hands of the priest Meremoth, son of Uriah, and with him was Eleazar, son of Phinehas, and with them were the Levites, Jozabad, son of Jeshua, and Nodiah, son of Binu. The total was counted and weighed, and the weight of everything was recorded. At that time, those who had come from captivity, the returned exiles, offered burnt offerings to the God of Israel, 12 bulls for all Israel, 96 rams, 77 lambs, and, as a sin offering, 12 male goats. All this was a burnt offering to the Lord. They also delivered the king's commissions to the king's satraps and to the governors of the province beyond the river. And they supported the people and the house of God. Ezra Chapter 9. After these things had been done, the officials approached me and said, The people of Israel, the priests and the Levites, have not separated themselves from the peoples of the lands with their abominations, from the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites. For they have taken some of their daughters as wives for themselves and for their sons. Thus the holy seed has mixed itself with the people of the lands, and in this faithlessness the officials and the leaders have led the way. When I heard this, I tore my garment and my mantle, and pulled hair from my head and beard, and sat appalled. Then all who trembled at the words of the God of Israel, because of the faithlessness of the returned exiled, gathered around me while I sat appalled until the evening sacrifice. At the evening sacrifice, I got up from my fasting, with my garments and my mantle torn, and fell on my knees, spread out my hands to the Lord, my God, and said, O my God, I am too ashamed and embarrassed to lift my face to you. My God, for my iniquities have risen higher than our heads, and our guilt has mounted up to the heavens. From the days of our ancestors to this day, we have been deep in guilt, and for our iniquities we, our kings, and our priests have been handed over to the kings of the land, to the sword, to captivity, to plundering, and to utter shame, as is now the case. But now, for a brief moment, favor has been shown by the Lord our God, who has left us a remnant and given us a stake in his holy place, in order that he might brighten our eyes and grant us a little sustenance in our slavery. For we are slaves. Yet our God has not forsaken us in our slavery, but has extended to us his steadfast love before the kings of Persia, to give us new life, to set up the house of our God, to repair its ruins, and to give us a wall in Judea and Jerusalem. And now, our God, what shall we say after this? For we have forsaken your commandments, which you commanded by your servants, the prophets, saying, the land that you are entering to possess is a land unclean with the pollutions of the people of the land, with their abominations. They have filled it from end to end with their uncleanness. Therefore, do not give your daughters to their sons, neither take their daughters for your sons, and never seek their peace or prosperity, so that you may be strong and eat the good of the land and leave it for an inheritance to your children forever. After all that has come upon us for our evil deeds and for our great guilt, seeing that you, our God, have punished us less than our iniquities deserved, and have given us such a remnant as this, shall we break your commandments again and intermarry with the peoples who practice these abominations? Would you not be angry with us until you destroy us without remnant or survivor? O Lord, God of Israel, you are just, but we have escaped as a remnant, as is now the case. Here we are before you in our guilt, though no one can face you because of this. Ezra Chapter 10. While Ezra prayed and made confession, weeping and throwing himself down before the house of God, a very great assembly of men, women, and children gathered to him out of Israel. The people also wept bitterly. Shechaniah, son of Jehiel, of the descendants of Elam, addressed Ezra, saying, we have broken faith with our God, and have married foreign women from the peoples of the land. But even now there is hope for Israel in spite of this. So now let us make a covenant with our God to send away all these wives and their children, according to the counsel of my Lord, and those who tremble at the commandment of our God, and let it be done according to the law. Take action, for it is your duty, and we are with you. Be strong and do it. Then Ezra stood up and made the leading priests, the Levites, and all Israel swear that they would do as had been said. So they swore. Then Ezra withdrew from before the house of God, and went to the chamber of Jehohanan, son of Eliashib, where he spent the night. He did not eat bread or drink water, for he was mourning over the faithlessness of the exiles. They made a proclamation throughout Judah and Jerusalem to all the returned exiles that they should assemble at Jerusalem, and that if any did not come within 3 days, by order of the officials and the elders, all their property should be forfeited, and they themselves banned from the congregation of exiles. Then all the people of Judah and Benjamin assembled at Jerusalem within the 3 days. It was the 9th month. On the 20th day of the month, all the people sat in the open square before the house of God, trembling because of this matter and because of the heavy rain. Then Ezra the priest stood up and said to them, you have trespassed and married foreign women, and so increased the guilt of Israel. Now make confession to the Lord, the God of your ancestors, and do his will. Separate yourselves from the peoples of the land and from foreign wives. Then all the assembly answered with a loud voice, it is so, we must do as you have said. But the people are many, and it is time of heavy rain. We cannot stand in the open, nor is this task for 1 day or for 2, for many of us have transgressed in this matter. Let our officials represent the whole assembly, and let all in our towns who have taken foreign wives come at appointed times, and with them the elders and judges of every town, until the fierce wrath of our God on this account is averted from us. Only Jonathan, son of Ashiel, and Jehaziah, son of Tikvah, opposed this, and Meshullam and Shabbathai, the Levites, supported them. Then the returned exiles did so. Ezra the priest selected men, heads of their families, according to their families, each of them designated by name. On the first day of the 10th month, they sat down to examine the matter. By the first day of the first month, they had come to an end of all the men who had married foreign wives. There were found of the descendants of the priests who had married foreign women, of the descendants of Jeshua, son of Jozadak, and his brothers, Maaseiah, Eliezer, Jarib, and Gedaliah. They pledged themselves to send away their wives, and their guilt offering was a ram of the flock for their guilt. Of the descendants of Immer, Hanani, and Zebediah. Of the descendants of Harim, Maaseiah, Elijah, Shemaiah, Jehiel, and Uzziah. Of the descendants of Pashur, Enoi, Messiah, Ishmael, Nethanel, Jozabad, and Elash. Of the Levites, Jozabad, Shemai, Keliah, that is, Kelita, Pethahiah, Judah, Eliezer. Of the singers, Eliashib. Of the gatekeepers, Shallum, Telem, and Uri. And of Israel, of the descendants of Parosh, Ramiah, Isaiah, Malchijah, Mijamin, Eleazar, Hashabiah, and Benaiah. Of the descendants of Elam, Mattaniah, Zechariah, Jehiel, Abdi, Jeremoth, and Elijah. Of the descendants of Zatu, Elioenai, Eliashib, Mattaniah, Jeremoth, Zabad, and Azizah. Of the descendants of Bebai, Jehohanan, Hananiah, Zebiah, and Athlai. Of the descendants of Bani, Meshullam, Malush, Adiah, Jashub, Sheal, and Jeremoth. Of the descendants of Pahath Moab, Adnah, Chilai, Benaiah, Messiah, Mattaniah, Bezalel, Binnui, and Manasseh. Of the descendants of Harim, Eliezer, Ishhajah, Malchijah, Shemaiah, Shimeon, Benjamin, Malush, and Shemariah. Of the descendants of Hashum, Mattenai, Mattathah, Zabad, Elipheleth, Jeremiah, Manasseh, and Shammai. Of the descendants of Bani, Madai, Amram, Uel, Benaiah, Bedaniah, Chelui, Vanaiah, Meremoth, Eliashib, Mattaniah, Mattanai, and Jashu. Of the descendants of Binnui, Shammai, Shelemiah, Nathan, Adiah, Machnabdibai, Shashai, Sharai, Azrael, Shemaiah, Shemariah, Shallum, Amariah, and Joseph. Of the descendants of Nebo, Jeiel, Mathaniah, Zabad, Zebani, Jaddai, Joel, and Benaiah. All these had married foreign women, and they sent them away with their children. Take care. God bless. I'll see you next time.